But if somebody came to me, like you said, and they're like, man, I'm dealing with severe PTSD, if I get the impression that you need to be maybe inpatient because seeing me outpatient once a week is not going to cut it, I'm going to say that because it's not about me, right? It's about you. I want you to get the best outcome. I'll be fine. I'm not presenting with this issue. You are.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna get the occasional the occasional black man. It's pretty rare. Really is rare over here. And yet there's
Mm-hmm.
so many black men need therapy. And I know that I'm preaching from a place of, oh, it's all right for you. You're another middle-aged white man, aren't you? Preaching to us about how things need to be different. Oh, yeah, I can't help that. But we need to have these conversations so that
Yes,
whether
sir.
it's no matter, so that everybody is represented, because
Yes.
people do want their therapist to be on at some element the same level as them. We want our therapist to know what it's like to be us. And if
Right.
we are upper class, upper middle class,
That's a big one.
yep, those people are going to want to go. That demographic is going to want to go to therapy as well. But the biggest need for therapy is in people that are struggling financially. And the irony is, those people can't afford to go and see a private therapist. So
Correct.
we are banging our head against a wall. We really are. There's a few therapists that do pro bono work, and there's help within the NHS over here, but the waiting list is a year just for an assessment. And even some private therapists who are busy, even they have a waiting list that's a year long. But there are people that are sitting waiting for the phone to ring, and maybe they need to do a little bit more. They need to come on people's podcasts and promote themselves a little bit, maybe.
I could definitely see. I can see the value in that for sure.
Yeah, I'm doing a presentation to one of our registering bodies over here in a couple of weeks' time, and it's just I don't know how many. I think there's probably about 200 delegates. It's quite a small conference. They've asked me to go along and to talk about what it's like to be a podcaster. Well, I will do, but what I want to do is try and make as many people in that room comfortable with putting themselves out there and saying, hello, this is who I am and this is what I do. And if somebody relates to them in some way because they've heard them, whether it's guesting on somebody else's podcast, or they've heard them on their own, or just they've gone onto their website looking for a therapist, and there's somebody there with a, whether it's a video clip or an audio clip, they can see them, or at least they can hear them and go, oh, okay. They've got an accent that's a bit like mine, or I can relate to them. I like what they say. It's not just the same standard about me page. If you go on Psychology Today or on these other things, everybody's got the same. It's like, the same.
Everybody covers everything to a certain degree. Like no level of speciality. Right. Check every box. No.
Starting at anxiety, working all the way down tick. Oh, you specialize in trauma, do you? Well, you've ticked the box.
Right. No. Wait, listen, I have to touch on what you just said because that's so important. That is so important what you just said. Number one, representation, right? Could not agree with you more. I always like to be clear on this platform, and anytime I'm talking to anybody, I am never trying to be exclusionary. To say I don't like that we have women in the field, or I don't like our white brothers and sisters like yourself that help do this work, right? Yeah. Never going to hear that from me. But I do believe and agree with exactly what you said. It is great to have people who can have certain fundamental understandings. Not that we're all the same. No particular group is a monolith. No white people, black people, Asians, Latinos, anybody. None of us are monoliths. But there are certain common lived experiences that in many cases we share, that it helps to facilitate to me that rapport building a little bit faster. Because you understand, you're like, oh, I don't have to explain to some of the challenges that I may have to deal with in my day-to-day life. You seem like you sort of get it. So we can jump in a little bit faster into why am I here, which makes me feel good because I'm starting to feel heard, right? I'm feeling a bit more reassured. So I think that helps out tremendously in that sphere. especially when you're talking about, again, when me and you were talking, especially, and we're talking about men, and we know how resistant they are already, and we are, to going out and getting that help. To touch on your point about the videos, and I'm not even exaggerating, Richard. Literally yesterday, I went back and I was updating my website, and I put in more of my video content. I have some of them on there, but I put more on my like immediately on my homepage. Exactly to the point that you were mentioning. What differentiates you from other people? How do people see you? How do they get to hear you before they just read through all your stuff? So I really want to echo that point. I think that's so important. And for me and you, obviously, we're a little different because we already do the type of work. Yeah. For providers out there, if you're interested in trying to not only like recruit more people to get into your clinical practice or to seek out help, we all got to get more comfortable with putting ourselves out there, because there's no way that more people are going to resonate and recognize us if they don't get to hear us probably before we get to meet. Because as Richard was talking about, a lot of times the information is all uniformly the same. It's hard to differentiate and separate what makes you different from this person. But if I get to listen to you and I get to watch you for a little while, I can say, you know what? This guy really has a good grasp on some of the things I'm struggling with. I need to reach out to him. And I think that would benefit us more, to learn to get comfortable in this space, to not only record ourselves, but to say things and discuss and describe things that we have a lot of experience in. Not that we're going to reach everybody, but the ones that need help in that area, I think they certainly would be more encouraged to seek us out.
Oh yeah, I think having a podcast, which I've had for it's 2010, so it was late 2010 or middle 2010, so almost it's been 12 years. Yeah, it's been 12 years of podcasting. And if somebody's been listening to me, I mean, genuinely, sometimes I'll have somebody contact me for therapy. It's not happened to me for a little while because I've had to say I can't take on any new patients at the minute, any new clients right now, because I'm too busy. But sometimes somebody will come onto my diary. They were listening to me from day one back in 2010. When that happened to me recently, a year or so ago, they were sessions ahead already. Just because we'd built a relationship. It was a one-sided. I didn't know we'd built a relationship.
Sure.
Because I built it without realizing. So she knew me. She knew what my interests were. She knew what I was passionate about. She knew what I was enthusiastic about. She knew that I understood certain things. Even though she doesn't really know me yet, because we've hardly got to know each other, it felt to her that we had a connection. And that is, that's the equivalent of maybe 10 sessions. I don't know.
Yeah.
When I had therapy, because whether you need it or not, when you become a therapist, before you qualify, you're not allowed to qualify until you've had, over here it's 48, was it 50? No, it's 50 sessions, 50 therapy sessions. Personal therapy, you've got to have 50 before they'll qualify you.
Okay.
And a lot of people just go to it because, well, I'm supposed to go. And it wasn't probably until, well, no, maybe I was worse than most, but it was actually, for me, it was probably about 18 months in of fortnightly therapy before I had to put my hand in the air and go, yeah, I'm being me now. I'm actually being authentic. I'm not wearing, this isn't a persona now. I'm actually being honest, and I'm being myself, and we can start doing some serious work now. That took 18 months. And
listen, that's important though.
Yeah, and I've had clients, and I've told that story to clients, and because they've been I can see they're in a similar position where they don't feel safe to be themselves for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And if we're not careful, it can turn into years. It really could.
No, you're so right.
A character. They think, well, this is who I've been told I've got to go to therapy, and I'm told this is going to help me. I'll be good. I'll be a good client. I'll be a good patient for them. I'll be good for them. And they just say what we think.
They think we want to hear.
They think we want to hear, yeah. So, no, I want you to be authentic. I want to know all about you. That can take, for some people, if we don't create a good relationship with the therapist, it might not ever happen.
Yes.
Ever. Because we've chosen the wrong therapist, because we don't click with them. Because we didn't realise at session 5 yeah, they don't get me, and gone, actually,
Oh, yeah.
thanks very much, but I'm not going to rebook for next time. I'm just going to have a bit of a break and see how I get on. That's all it needs to be. We don't even need to say, you know what? I don't think this is working between us. Can you recommend
Right.
another therapist, please? I mean, that
Right.
would be great. And I think every therapist should be okay with hearing that. If somebody said
Yes.
that to me, I'm like, great. That's brilliant. Because now you know more about what you need and what you want. Let's
Spot
find you.
on.
Let's see if I can help you find you a therapist who you can really click with. I'm sorry that can't be me, but it's really important that you find the right therapist for you. Let's see what we can do. We need to be okay with that as therapists. And that's
Yes.
not a rejection. That's in the client's interests. And if you don't have those 50 sessions of therapy first, maybe you're not able to do that as a therapist.
No, absolutely. And it's funny, Richard. It's so funny you said that. When I was in grad school, I mean, number one, they don't require us to do it, but they strongly encourage us throughout school to go. I had been going throughout my life, but I went again like twice. I went to the same institution for undergrad and graduate school. So I went both in undergrad and graduate school. I went to therapy. But what was interesting, I was going to bring up to your point. One of my professors said this, and it's always stuck in my head ever since I first started that program. He's the director of that program. He said, every client is not for every therapist. And remember that. And so anytime when I had people reach out to me, right, even to this day, if I don't feel confident that I can help them in the issue that they are presenting with, then I'm going to try to help them find somebody else or encourage them to find somebody else, because I want them not only to just connect. Connections are very important, right? We know that. Like you just made that point very beautifully. If we don't feel a strong connection, they're not going to be their most authentic and vulnerable self, so we can do the real work. So I 100% agree. We have to have that. But at the same time, also being qualified to help them in the areas of need, right? Yeah. So that they understand what they need, and that I feel comfortable enough that I've done that before, or that I'm telling you I'm not as comfortable or I'm as qualified to do that, and you're okay with like working with me as we work on that together, right? Being very transparent. But the point that you were mentioning about everybody's not for everyone, to me, that's what the consultation process is for. Is me giving you that, or me listening to you about what you're looking to address, what you're looking to work on, me giving you my spiel of sort of how I do it and a little bit about myself, and seeing if we line up. And then even once that happens, if we agree, as you said, I could be 3 to 5 sessions in and say, you know what, I don't feel the same connection, or I feel like I'm being extremely resistant. I don't know if you see that, and I don't want to waste your time. Like I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this, and I don't feel like I am. And I absolutely agree with you. I believe as therapists, we have to be comfortable with that, because you said the most important thing at the end of that statement. It's about the client. It's never about us. And if we think it's about us, then we probably need to be doing our own work, because they're seeking us out for help, not to personally attack us or to make us feel bad or anything like that. They just want to get the help. So yeah. I agree with you, and I want to echo that same point. If you're out there and somebody, I don't even want to say rejects you, because like you said, it's not about rejection. They just don't feel the level of connection needed to do the work, right? That's okay. That we have to be willing to pivot, and I hope that we would support and help them while they're trying to find somebody else as they're continuing the journey, because that means they still need that help, right? So I think that those points are extremely valid and very important for all of us to be mindful of. And then for the clients out there, as you said as well, to not be afraid to verbalize that, right? We're trying to create this warm, inviting environment. So if you don't feel like you can be honest, like that's not a good sign of our relationship. Yeah. If you don't even feel like you can tell me, I don't know, this is working right now.
Yeah, and if you do say that and the therapist is angry about that,
yeah,
well then now you've got your answer. You know that wasn't probably the right therapist for you,
no,
or
not
potentially
at all.
Anybody.
No, absolutely agree.
And I get that that's difficult for therapists, especially if they're new. They've been, they've spent 3 or 4 years training. Right, I'm going into private practice now. I'm not going into agency work. Or maybe they've been working in an agency for a couple of years, and now I'm going to jump into private practice. This is scary. I'm running a business now. I've got to try and get customers, not clients. and then what that customer says they don't want to spend any more money with you. You've got to be okay with not seeing that client, that patient, as a service user, as a customer.
Yes.
They're a person. There's a reason why. I mean, there was a time when counselling was called client-centered for a little while, and it didn't really catch on. And it's been person-centered for decades now, 70s, probably maybe it was only client-centered for about 10 years before they went, nah, thanks, but they're not just clients, they're people. Let's have person-centered work. And that's where we are still all these years later, recognizing the foundations to therapy. Whether we're doing cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, solution-focused therapy, or just sort of combination of all of those all at once, or we're doing psychodynamic stuff, everything still relies on those same foundations, which that is a person there. That is a real human being. Get that connection right, and it doesn't matter whether you're going to be solution focused or psychodynamic. You're probably going to get the same, to a degree, you're probably going to get the same results, because it's the connection that the two of you have that is the most important. And studies have shown that for like 40 years. We've seen that.
That's and we know that too. To just to echo your point real quick, we know that's true. Those of us like on both sides, especially like you and me, right? We've both said that we've gone to therapy. We know the difference between when you sit down and you genuinely want to express yourself versus if you're like, I'm gonna be a little more reserved. I'm gonna wait and see like how they respond. We know that difference. So we would expect nothing less for a client to come into our space and that we're providing that. But then if we don't feel that connection though, it's okay to step away from that. It means there could be somebody else out there that you might resonate with more. And at the end of the day, it's about you.